Warner Brothers has acquired what they call a spec script, which is about Kobe Bryant's experience with the 1996 NBA draft, all the things that were surrounding him going into the draft and how he was able to maneuver his way to getting drafted by the Lakers. So, for those who don't know, I think most people know the story of how Kobe Bryant ended up with the Lakers. But for those who don't know, I'll just give a brief summary of how it went down. So, in 1996, Kobe Bryant declares for the NBA draft. He's actually only 17 at the time when he declares, and he's a senior in high school. So, what happens next is that he wants to go to the Lakers. But the problem is the New Jersey Nets, and yes, they were called the New Jersey Nets back then, had the eighth pick, and they were very interested in drafting Kobe Bryant. John Calipari thought he had a lot of talent and really wanted to draft him. And I think other people in the Nets front office were keen to getting Kobe Bryant. They really wanted him. The problem was Kobe Bryant didn't want to be there. He wanted to go to the Lakers. So the Hornets and the Lakers were in talks because the Lakers did not have a lottery pick at that time. Jerry West had worked out Kobe Bryant, and he really liked what he saw, and he wanted him. And he reached out to the Hornets because the Hornets needed a center in the worst way. They had just traded Alonzo Mourning a year earlier. They had a big void at the center spot, and they needed someone to fill that spot. The Lakers had a center in Vlade Divac that they were willing to give up. Vlade was a very solid center at the time. You could say a top 10 center in the league. He was an above average center, and the Hornets desperately needed it. And on top of that, the Lakers were going after Shaq at that time, so they wanted to dump Vlade to clear up cap space. So even if they couldn't get Shaq, at least they were going to get Kobe, and it cleared up cap space either way. So it was kind of like a win-win for the Lakers doing this move. They could get the Hornets to bite on it, and the Hornets were willing to do it because they're just like, yeah, we need a center. We don't know who this Kobe Bryant kid is. We don't care. He's not proven. He's coming out of high school. And you got to remember back then, the only guys who had ever been successful in NBA history that had made the jump out of high school had been big men. Moses Malone, Kevin Garnett recently. He had been successful. But outside of that, I can't really name any perimeter players that were successful in the NBA straight out of high school. I could be wrong, but at least back then, it just didn't happen. So the Hornets didn't feel that they were going to miss out on trading Kobe. They just thought like he would just be some random kid that they would forget about. Obviously, they were wrong. But going back to the situation, the Nets were on the verge of spoiling what could have been this trade. And Kobe and his agent did some maneuvering to get out of the situation. They threatened John Calipari, the GM at the time, in the Nets front office, that if they drafted Kobe Bryant, that he would go straight to Italy or Europe and just play there, and he would never report to the Nets, which I had to say showed again how spoiled Kobe was from day one. This guy was pampered, but I felt the Nets were dumb in that situation because they had all the power. They could have called his bluff and dared him to do what he wanted to do if he got drafted, because obviously he was not going to do it. They should have called the bluff. I would have called the bluff. And even if he does go to Europe for a year, you still have his draft rights. He can't really go anywhere. He's still stuck with you guys. So you have all the leverage. And plus your Nets. One more year of sucking is not really going to change anything. But as the story would go, the Nets drafted Kerry Kittles. The Hornets made the trade, and Kobe was a Laker, and the rest is history. So that's pretty much it. But they're going to base a movie on all of this, and I think it will be a very dull movie, to be honest. I think Kobe Bryant's life story is actually pretty interesting. Kobe, in my eyes, is like a sociopath, narcissistic type of personality, and I think that should be portrayed in his biography from start to finish. There's some good books that give you a good idea how Kobe became the person he is through his life experience. I would say one of the books is Showboat by Roland Lansby. That's the name of the book, I believe. Yep, is Showboat. That's a great book. I read that book once. When you're reading it, you feel like you're watching actually a movie. That's how great his writing is. And I thought in that book, it Lansby gave us a good idea of why Kobe was the way he was, how his parents influenced him. His mom was a crazy, selfish person. And obviously that transferred down to Kobe. She was upper middle class and she had that type of personality of being spoiled. So that transferred over to Kobe. Kobe's dad was like an underachiever, even though he made it to the NBA. He had dreams of being a star. He was hyped up to be a star when he was in college and in Philadelphia circles. He was supposed to be a star in the NBA, but it just never happened. And I think Joe always lived with that regret. He could not be a star. So he was living through Kobe when he was influencing Kobe growing up and grooming him to be an NBA star. He wanted Kobe to make up for what he couldn't be, essentially. And there's one interesting story in the book about how Joe molded Kobe to be a star, even personality wise, in the sense that every AAU team Kobe played on, he would tell the coach of the AAU team that Kobe is the number one guy and the rest of the people on the team are just going to support him. They're just going to be role players and they're going to acquiesce to Kobe. And that's just how it's going to be. He would actually lay out the parameters on every AAU team Kobe played. And that was the only way Kobe would play on the AAU team. And that was the same when he picked out of high school. Laura Memorian was not a basketball powerhouse. And that's why Joe picked that school, because it was guaranteed Kobe would be the star over there and everything will be run through Kobe. So that made him into that type of guy you saw in the NBA where he was very selfish and he was not willing to be really a team player in the sense. Hence his clashes with Shaq all the time because he wanted the team to revolve around him, but it revolved around Shaq. So I think those things would be great to see, brought in a movie, but you're not going to see that in this movie, which is just like a snippet of Kobe's bio, not the whole entire picture. I think another good book that does a good job of depicting Kobe's personality is the book Three Ring Circus by Jeff Pearlman, which details the Kobe Shaq Laker years from day one up until Shaq got traded. There are a lot of great excerpts about Kobe, his time adjusting in LA, his feud with his parents, his relationship with his wife, Vanessa, how that all had influences on who he was. I think all those things should be portrayed in a movie, but this movie won't show this because it's obviously only about the 96 draft. But if you want a really good Kobe bio, you're going to have to incorporate all those elements to get the full picture of who he was. That's something I would like to see. I think maybe a movie's not possible because there's so much to incorporate from his childhood up until his passing that maybe HBO can come up with a mini series. That would be awesome, 10 or 12 episodes. Something like that shows like the whole entire portrayal of Kobe as a person and just his bio. That would be great. Or just another streaming network like Showtime or Netflix or something. I think that would be better, but it would also be controversial because Kobe's not a saint. So you ought to show all the negative stuff about him, not just what happened in Colorado, but everything else, including his relationship with his wife and how sketchy Vanessa was and still is, to be honest. So I think that would be great, to have something like that, whether it's a series or an actual movie about his whole entire life. That would be entertaining, but I don't think this movie will be great, that the one that they're coming up with, because it's just like there's not really much about it that you don't know. It's just going to be about Kobe snubbing Calipari in the Nets and them drafting Kerry Kittles and him going to the Hornets. I don't think there'll be anything new that most people don't already know about Kobe in this film, but I think they could succeed in making money because of the Kobe nostalgia and stuff. Nostalgia, as I would say. So, yeah, but I think this movie will suck ass and it won't be a great movie. But hey, that's just me.